Have you ever wondered why people sometimes make choices that don't seem to help them? For instance, why do we buy things we can't afford? Or keep investing in stocks that lose money? Well, there's a field of study that helps explain this: behavioral economics. It combines psychology and economics to show us how our emotions and biases shape the decisions we make every day. Traditional economics assumes that we always make rational choices. But the truth is, we don't always act logically. Behavioral economics reveals how our brains can trick us into making irrational decisions. And today, we're going to explore how. So, what is behavioral economics? In short, it's a study of how psychological factors, like emotions and biases, affect the choices we make, often leading us to make decisions that don't benefit us in the long run. For example, why do people buy things they can't afford? Or why do they make investment choices that lose money? Behavioral economics helps us understand why we sometimes make these choices, even when we know better. The field began in the 1970s. Imagine this: you lose $10. It feels pretty bad, right? But what if you gain $10? It doesn't feel as great as losing feels bad. This is loss aversion in action. It explains why we might hold onto a bad investment instead of selling it, even though selling it would prevent us from losing more money. Now, let's dive into some of the common biases that affect our decisions. Biases are like mental shortcuts that can trick us into making irrational choices. One of these biases is called anchoring. Here's how it works. Let's say you see a jacket on sale for $500, and then you see the same jacket for $200. You might think the $200 jacket is a great deal, when in fact it might still be overpriced. This is anchoring, where the first price you saw affects how you judge the second price. Another bias is overconfidence. People tend to overestimate their knowledge or abilities. For example, someone might think they know how to pick winning stocks, so they invest more money than they should, only to lose it later. Overconfidence can lead to risky decisions that don't pay off, especially when we think we can predict the future, like the stock market, when in reality, predicting outcomes is a lot harder than it seems. In their book Nudge, Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein show how small changes or nudges can help us make better choices without forcing us. For example, if your employer automatically enrolls you in a retirement savings plan, you're more likely to save for the future because you don't have to make the decision yourself. That's the power of nudging, making it easier for us to make the right decision without actually having to think about it too much. Let's take a look at another interesting concept: the endowment effect. Let's say you buy a coffee mug for $5. You might think it's worth more than $5 simply because it's yours. This is the endowment effect, the tendency to value something more just because you own it. This can lead people to hold on to things they don't need just because they feel attached to them. Another example is the status quo bias. People often stick with what they know, even when change could be better. For example, you might keep paying for the same insurance plan year after year just because it's what you've always done, even though you could find a better deal if you shopped around. Understanding these biases can help us make smarter choices in life. For instance, many of us struggle to save money. We might overspend or put off saving for the future. But by setting up automatic savings, we can save money without having to think about it. Behavioral economics shows us that small, simple changes can help us make better decisions, especially when it comes to managing our finances. Behavioral economics has shown us that we're not always as rational as we think. But by understanding how our emotions and biases affect our decisions, we can make smarter choices. Whether it's managing our money, making better investments, or just improving our daily habits. Books like Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman and Nudge by Richard Thaler can help us understand these ideas in more depth. So, next time you make a decision, think about how your mind might be tricking you.